Dr. Wallander, we're not sending the 82nd Airborne into Ukraine, right?
Correct.
And regime change in Russia is not the policy of the United States, is it?
Correct.
And God forbid, if the Russians use chemical weapons, we would not respond by using chemical weapons against the Russian people, right?
Correct.
So why does the president keep speaking out against U.S. policy?
Congressman, the president has made clear that he has not changed U.S. policy on regime change.
No, but why does he speak against it?
That he is appalled by the horrors, as I think we all are, of what Russia is wreaking in Ukraine.
But how could it not confuse our allies and our fellow Americans to have the president saying the exact opposite of what you just correctly defined as U.S. policy?
My understanding from allies is that they value U.S. leadership. They are confident in American commitment to the NATO alliance, and in particular, the president's words that the United States will deter Russian attack against NATO and defend every inch of NATO territory.
That's all fascinating, but it doesn't get to the question of speaking directly against our policies. Does the Department of Defense assess that the president is likely going forward to speak against U.S. policy on other matters?
Congressman, I can't speak to that. I don't believe that there's any such assessment.
Maybe do we have a plan in place for the next moment, right? Because this didn't happen once, it didn't happen twice, it happened 3 times on highly consequential stuff like regime change and chemical weapons and sending our service members into Ukraine. And so I sort of wonder whether or not we have to have contingency plans for a president who seems to be a little confused on those matters. And you're saying there is no such contingency plan?
I'm telling you, Congressman, that the Department of Defense leadership is focused on sustaining and advancing American national security policy of this administration.
Is the Department of Defense leadership frustrated by the president's statements against U.S. policy?
Congressman, I think that is an inappropriate characterization of the Defense Department's
commitment. It's a question. I said, is the department leadership frustrated? I'm not characterizing. I'm trying to ascertain how hard this job must be to get our force posture aligned, to get our information operations that Mr. Giramendi asked about in line, when you've got a president who seems to be misaligned on these key questions.
Congressman, I can only speak for myself. I think it's appropriate, and you have the right to ask the question. And so, speaking for myself,
I'm sorry, but you can't badger the witness. If you ask a question, you got to give her at least 5 seconds to say something before you then interrupt. Just go ahead.
I am not frustrated. I feel privileged and honored to serve the American people and to serve this president and this administration.
Are you aware of any other officials at the department that are frustrated by the president's misstatements of policy?
I am not.